Welcome back to Oregon Inlet, episode 11, part 2.
I could easily come to Hyde County and film this, but I'd rather get it right and do it with y'all instead of about y'all.
He done me in. Ain't no need me worrying about it no more. We gone. And you can't catch no fish no way. That's for sure.
How is this going to affect your son's future?
My son ain't got no future in this here if something don't change. It's gonna kill somebody before it's over with, and he'll probably be the first one because he's crazy.
All right. I can use that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we were just going out I'd say probably a week ago, and just got caught in the wrong wave, soaked our instruments, and we got offshore and shorted a wire out because everything got wet. You know, there was water shoot that deep down there in the bow, in the bunk where you stand, and yeah, it was no good. Shorted our wire out, then my boat cut off. Then it wouldn't start back up because my alternator was burning up. So we had to call the Coast Guard, Oregon Inlet Coast Guard, to come get us, pull us through. It was a rough day. It was no good.
21-year-old commercial fisherman. How do you look at your future in commercial fishing?
It's scary. I don't know what's going to come of it. It's like these big organizations, CCA, things like that, and a lot of the people that aren't from here that move here and try to change the way that we do things, the way that we live, they don't stop to think about, hey, that's how they make their living,
Off camera, Samuel Williams said National Marine Fisheries had a bigger effect on the seafood industry than the inlet did. I asked him if he'd like to talk about National Marine Fisheries, and he said,
No.
We were talking about FG a little while ago. Me and him decided to come in one night in there. It was slick calm in the ocean. The wind hit about an hour before we got there, the Oregon Inlet. Both of us were loaded. We had about 30,000 pounds of fish on. And we got there, and the buoys on the bar were going slam underwater, but the seas were washing over them. And FG said, I don't know about going. He said, we can get in there. I said, well, go ahead and I'll follow you. And a sea washed up on his boat and washed 2,000 or 3,000 pounds of fish right overboard. And I turned around and headed off, and he turned around and came in behind me. He said, well, this was about 2 o'clock in the morning. He said, when it comes daylight, he said, it'd be better, we can see what we're doing. I said, I ain't waiting till daylight. I said, I'm going to Hatteras. So we left and steamed around and come in Hatteras Inlet that day.
Like, we used to use Ocracoke Inlet when it was too rough here. You could go there. Well, if the wind was out of the north, sometimes we'd go down there and come up the side.
I would come back up. If they're just trying to get off here, you gotta go slam the moorhead to get out.
Lois Joyce, Walter Tate, he was from that area.
I had come to work, it was a Sunday morning, it was blowing real hard and not a pretty day at all, and I always had a radio where I could hear the boats talk, and I heard the Lois Joyce was aground at Oregon Inlet. Instantly became very attentive, and I was sitting there, and the Coast Guard was recommending that Walter, the captain and the owner, his whole crew was his family, and they were recommending that they get off the boat, and Walter wanted to contact his wife because he really didn't want to get off. And I got on the radio and volunteered to call his wife for him. I knew her real well too, and it's the most emotional thing I've ever been involved in my life because I have him on a radio and I have his wife on a phone, and I'm transferring the message he's given her, and she's giving it back to me, and I got to transfer what he says. And he really did not want to get off of that boat. And she said, "You tell him I said get off of that boat." The next morning, the boat had sunk, and it was just God's blessing that Walter had got off.
The Coast Guard arrived quickly but was unable to secure a line to the stricken trawler. Reluctantly, its captain, Walter Tate Sr., agreed to be airlifted with his crew to safety. The Lois Joyce was not so lucky. The shifting sand problem, however, could be alleviated if a couple of jetties were built offshore. The federal government, though, has to build them, and so far Congress hasn't appropriated the money. The Tate brothers are angry about that and say if something isn't done soon, the whole fishing industry around here could go under.
This is today's situation. This situation has existed over the years, so many years back, that this has had a real stranglehold on the development of the seaports, the packing industry, the fuel industry, the number of trawlers that would be into the ports, the development even of the harbors. We'd see a different place today, and the economic impacts of it, I am certain, would far outweigh any of the cost, not just in the dollar sign, but what we would lose in natural resources.
Jesus, King of Kings, Lord of Lords. So, the visiting kings presented a big question.
What are your thoughts when you're approaching that bridge? What's going through your head typically?
I usually say a little prayer before I go through there and pray that we get through there all right and that nothing breaks down coming through that inlet or crossing the bar, you know.
I got scared at first and prayed about it.
Walt Tate Jr., his brother Paul, and cousin Randy were half of the Lois Joyce's six-man crew. While their boat floundered, they prayed.
I mean, we got a guy on the boat, he's not family. And I grabbed his hand, I said, Greg, the Lord's gonna pull us through this. And I said, are you scared? And he says, you bet I'm scared.
After spending a lot of time in Hyde County, I realized the people here have a lot of heart. And they do push on, just like Gerald Craddock said. And that the fishermen in Wanchese and the commercial fishermen in Hyde County have a lot in common. Not only do they have to deal with the most dangerous inlet on the East Coast, they have to deal with fishing regulations set by National Marine Fisheries. We talked to the young fishermen. We also heard about the Lois Joyce. Thank you, and stick around for episode 12. This episode of Oregon Inlet is proudly sponsored by Bliven Calls. Check them out on the web at www.allenblivencalls.com.